What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Weekly Journal. Hope you all have had a good week. It was a little bit of a rough week for me. Again, in the middle of the week, on Wednesday and Thursday, with all the changing weather and the changing pressures and everything, I get those migraines. I'm kind of like my dad in that way. And I was out of it for 2 days. I went to work for a bit on Wednesday, but then went right home afterwards and just slept for so long. Thank God I have an eye mask now so I can just block out all the light. That really helped a lot, but yeah, those 2 days, I lost 2 days essentially of being able to work on music just because it felt like somebody had their hands on my temples and were just pushing in constantly. It felt like my head was going to pop off, but we're all good now. Everything's on the up and up. The track that I mentioned last week, that's kind of like the old, kind of like progressive vibe, kind of like Eric Prydz, or it's kind of more similar to some like French house, whatever. It's getting there. It's definitely getting there. I've sent it to a couple of friends, a couple mentors, and they love the ideas and potentially could be something bigger than I think it might be. So more news on that hopefully in the future, but we're still working on it. It's all arranged out. The creative work on it is pretty much done. I'll start mixing and mastering it this week, I think, just to see where it's at, and then move on to the next. But I was relaxing a bit this weekend, and I'm sure a lot of you can attest to this and can say that they feel the same. But when you're a creative, or you're somebody that's got drive and goals and whatever, and you're just relaxing, it's so hard not to feel anxious when you're just relaxing, when you're just taking a second for yourself. It's hard not to be hard on yourself. I mean, like, I should be working right now. You know, there's other people that are working right now that are getting better than me, and yada, yada, yada. It's a toxic thought, I think, but it's so hard to shake. And I know that there's obviously a lot of us that deal with that in the creative space and just in general in terms of like entrepreneurs and stuff like that. And it's such an annoying thought to have, because I feel like we all deserve some time to ourselves. I feel like we all need to, you know, dial it back and relax and unwind. But I feel like there's also a certain way that we have to earn that in a way. Like, it feels like if you're just relaxing and you haven't quote unquote earned it, like you haven't, in my case, worked on music or learned something or applied something that you've watched in a tutorial or, you know, recorded content, etc., etc., it just feels like I'm unworthy of resting, which is a little bit weird, but it's weird. I felt like that for so long, and I hate that anxiety that comes with it, but I think I just have to remind myself that it's okay to take a few minutes to myself for a break, or, you know, just to have a night where, you know, maybe I'm just watching a show on Netflix, or maybe just, you know, going to bed a little bit earlier so I can catch up on some sleep and not have to like worry about, oh, I need to be working on music, or I need to be doing something to push myself forward. Because in reality, maybe if I was working on that something, it wasn't going to be a good night, or maybe I'd be pulling my hair out in terms of like what I'm trying to figure out, etc., etc. So just need to be a little bit kinder to myself in that way. And I think that everybody that does feel like that, other than me, does need to be a little bit kinder to themselves too going forward. But, you know, it's always nice to have those goals to push you, that want to be better. And as long as you think that it's a healthy thing, I think that's the biggest thing to take away. Obviously, you know, getting down on yourself for not working, that's when it turns negative. But it's good to realize that you have that feeling, because it means you have drive to the goals that you want to achieve. But you should also take that time, you know, to let yourself reset a bit before getting back into everything. We are now in the last week as well before Miami Music Week. I fly out on the Wednesday, not this Wednesday, but the following Wednesday. I'm so excited. I can't wait for warmth and to see some friends, you know, drink some drinks, have some good food, listen to some great music, and just be amongst people that have the same goals as me. It's always motivating to hear what people have lined up, especially right now with how I'm trying to get back into everything, hearing how everybody's doing, how they're doing it, their process, and trying to implement that into mine. That's going to be a big thing. So I'm really looking forward to that. But that's really it for me this week, folks. It's a really quick one. I'm hoping that, my head kind of is able to deal with the oncoming pressure changes in the next little bit. March is always weird like that. So I'm hoping that that kind of chills out a little bit, but I'm very much looking forward to next week. I'm looking forward to this week, next week, and all the weeks coming up, of course. Hope you all have a good week coming up. Hope you all had a great weekend. That's it for me. I'll see you next time for another episode. Until then, much love as always.